So what is your name and what do you do?
Name's Sebastian Walker, police officer in the city of Marion.
Where are you originally from?
Originally born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. Came here when I was about 9. Well, not really, just Ohio in general. Between Marion and Columbus till the mid-years, and then finished it out Marion and been here ever since.
You tell us a little bit about your family and how you were raised.
I was raised father and mother in the household. Dad's black, mom's white, so I got the best of both worlds, I guess you could say. Throughout my childhood, to me as a child, my parents did a pretty good job to hide the struggle that they went through. We moved around a lot in the early years of my life. Till about high school came around, my parents got a divorce. And then it's just been that ever since.
How's your life now? What do you like to do? Family, friends, all that?
I got 2 beautiful kids, got a beautiful wife. Try turning a lot of things around, turn all the negatives that I went through into positives, especially for the kids.
So what made you choose to be a police officer?
So not a cliche answer, it's not to give back to my community or anything like that. It was just to change people's perspective on law enforcement. And that's the main goal. Especially from what you hear, I mean, obviously through the media and stuff like that, I just want it to be that change.
So how was your friends' reaction to you becoming a police officer? Did you get mixed reactions from different friends?
So I took it, I thought they were going to be a little skeptical through the situation. Like, nah, Bash became a cop, that's crazy, you know. I got that reaction, a lot of positive for real. That's not what I thought I was going to get whatsoever, you know. I was
Right.
especially hanging around the people I did, doing the things I've done. Thought I was going to get, oh man, he switched up on me and all this other stuff, but I got nothing but love for the most part.
So how's the job? Is it stressful or what?
I mean, it has its moments, man. It has its, for sure, dark days, good days, for the most part. I mean, it's definitely a job that you have to be in it 100%, because if you're not, then it'll eat you alive, for sure.
So does your wife worry or?
Every night, man. We got our routine before I go. It's always a kiss. I love you. Come home. That's the main thing. Is just come home at the end of the day.
Yes, it can be a pretty dangerous job.
Oh, for sure.
So what are some struggles that you've had to endure throughout your life and you still deal with to this day?
When I was younger, and I love you, Mom. I'm gonna say that before I start this, but growing up, again, my dad was always working. Mom chose not to for the most part. I don't know what may have started it. Obviously, I never really talked to her about it, but she started an addiction to prescription pain pills from a surgery that she had when I was younger. Obviously affected the work ethic and the relationship throughout the household, which ultimately caused the divorce. As I was going through high school, my mom was never really there. And at the time, like, I thought that was dope. Like, you know, I got a house to myself at 14, 15, 16 years old, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's party every weekend, is have all this good stuff, come to Bash's house on the weekend and stuff like that. But I mean, the older I get, the more and more I start to realize that I needed a parental figure more than a friend, you know, because especially in the midst of the divorce that they went through, I was brought in the middle
Yeah.
of the divorce, like forcing to choose sides. I mean, honestly, I can't even explain it, like almost brainwashed to like not like my dad for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, and in reality, like the whole time he was just looking out for me. But again, I had that teenage mind, like that's what I needed, and face some consequences from actions. And I could say, I mean, obviously every action you make is under your own power, so you're in control of it. But when you're that young, and yeah, 15 may seem old, but you're still a child. I regret making the decisions I did, because it it cost a lot, or potentially cost a lot, you know, because if I had to did things different, I could be in a different position than what I'm in right now.
A lot of people, who are struggling with their parents being divorced and addiction usually don't grow up to become as successful as you have.
Nah, man.
Now you've become a police officer, so reflecting on that, how does that make you feel?
Good as hell. It really does. I mean, not saying I don't walk around like I'm the hero by any means, but when like people say you get it out the mud,
Yeah.
it's a whole different, my mud is different.
Right.
Like, I could be in jail, I could be dead, but I did everything under my own accord, under my own power. I mean, I made the choices I made, but I didn't let them form who I would become. I mean, there for a minute, it was a rough stint, of course, but I just woke up one day and was like, man, this stuff's got to change. Like, I got to make that change, and that's what I did. Shout out to my wife, man, for real. Backbone to everything we got right now, for sure.
So, what do you do for fun when you're not working? Or
Man, the old man stuff, like I golf.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought I'd golf before, man. It's a different type of piece.
Yeah, same here.
I make music, of course, which I use as another gateway through that stuff, man. Just expressing feelings.
Yeah, it's a good way to get whatever you got on your chest off.
Always telling the true story. That's the thing.
So, you dealt with your parents being divorced. You dealt with one of them struggling with addiction. What would you tell a kid growing up dealing with some of the same things?
And everybody has their own ways of handling stuff. The thing that I would highly suggest is ultimately it's your life. You're gonna grow. You're gonna get older to where you can make them own decisions for yourself. I mean, I did it. I can't really explain how I did it. I just got up and did it. That's all you can do. No matter what somebody says, they'll always say, you got people that are like, I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anybody to vent to. But there's always one person in your life that you can, seek guidance from. You know, whether it be just talking to them so their ear to hear what you got to say, or somebody that, like myself, may experience the same thing and how to turn that negative into a positive. So for the younger people, just keep pushing, man. Life is too precious to dwell. It really is. Like, you think about life and how gifted you are to exist. You know what I mean? Like not to get personal or like a doctor, but I mean, that's one in a couple million. You know what I'm saying? And you was granted that life. You was the faster one. You know what I mean? So that's what I could say for the young people and don't ball it up, because it'll take that one time for it to just explode. You know, like, you can only hold in so much. If it's there, just get it off your chest. Don't be embarrassed by it, because everybody think that just because you talk about stuff that you're soft. You know, especially with this younger generation now, you can't show no emotion. And showing emotion is actually a stronger thing than what you think it is.
Definitely.
For sure.
So, how's your mom doing now? Has she got over the struggles with addiction, or?
She got over pills.
Yeah.
I mean, she's drinking on a daily basis. I mean, it's every day you wake up just praying you don't get that call. That's where it's at.
Is she in your life more? She come around the kids, see the kids?
There's times where, of course, I want my kids to be familiar with their grandma. You know what I mean? Like, when you grow up, man, it's all about grandma and grandpa, you know? But again, I just don't want them exposed around what I was exposed as younger kid, you know, because especially when you have your own kids, man, they're so innocent. Like you don't want them exposed to anything that could potentially hurt them or change their view on certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So obviously, as a police officer, you have a job to do, and you can't put that aside with having kids and everything. But like, I'm sure you run into situations where you have to arrest someone that's younger that might remind you of yourself back in the day. Do you try to mentor them or tell them what they should be doing differently, or try to pick up their spirits?
Absolutely, man. I try catching it before it gets worse. You know, especially, and I always say kids nowadays they're different. It's a whole different ball game, man. Like, unfortunately, they don't face repercussions for actions like we used to. You know what I mean? But if I ran into a kid that's like me, of course, I mentor them. Just let them know the path that they leading down, and ultimately, it's up to them to make that decision. Like, if they want to keep going with it, because, I mean, I got facts to back it up. You know, like. Can't really speak into detail, obviously, but just responding to a call of a 16, 15-year-old shot dead in the street because he chose that life over, you know, trying to do better it hits home a different way, you know, because I don't care who you are, you're not meant to see that.
All right.
You're not.
Yeah, I bet that would make you hug your kids a little tighter, saying that.
For sure, man. And that's when, that's the big thing, man, is just because your kids are at home, they had an influence by you, but when they get older, you know, they want to start hanging out with friends and stuff like that, and it can be influenced by something you have no idea about. That's the thing. Like, my dad always raised me, be a leader, not a follower. And it's that. There was times in my life where I followed, and that's when I got in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, just leave, pave your own way. Like, don't live somebody else's life for them, because you're gonna face the repercussions, man. And if you don't, you're lucky, I guess I could say it, but it's gonna catch up eventually for sure. It's inevitable.
In a world today where there's so much mixed views on police officers, what have you seen? What is the majority of what you've seen within the police force? And you don't have to get, I know you can only talk about so much.
So like for the city of Marion in general, there ain't a bad apple. On this in this police department, there's not one guy that I don't trust to take care of people. To relate to people. I mean, obviously you see a bunch of corruption and, I mean, just police brutality, you know, the whole thing, like even dating back to Trayvon, you got George Floyd and all that other stuff. And it's like, people don't realize that when police officers are in the wrong, the number one person to say that person was in the wrong is a police officer. You know, like we sit back and watch the media like, oh, damn. Like it's coming, you know, and if there were things that we could change for that, absolutely. We would. If we could speak out as much as we'd like to, this world would be different, and understand that we are for these people more than we're against them. Like, on top of obviously just, that's all you hear, man. It's politics when it comes down to it, for sure. But there's not one police officer that I know, police officer Stadies for a fact, because even when I was younger, I thought they were, you know. So, I mean, I still slow down when I'm in my patrol car passing the Stady when I'm in uniform, you know what I mean? Yeah. But there's just, there's so many good guys, man. We're human. And that's the big thing, is humanizing the badge. And I don't know when that ever changed. And I guess I can't say I don't know when, because obviously you hear stories and situations where, I mean, just abusing power and other things like that. But for the majority, that's just one bad apple. That doesn't mean you got to cut the whole tree. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we live by is what we call a community bank account. You know, you put in so many positive deposits, but when that one thing happens, it's like a withdrawal that makes you go negative.
Right.
So you're constantly building back. But for the most part, for me, I keep it real with people, and people know that. Like, I've helped people out, and it's not because I know them. It's because again, back to being able to relate and trying to stop the problem at hand. People trust me, and it's out there a lot more than you'd like to hear, or people would like to hear. Like, you don't want to hear somebody saying, "I trust the police." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that's what we do, and that's where it's at. It's definitely a good job. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's different every day, and I mean, I've changed lives, man, and there's no bigger feeling to that. So that's what I could say for the younger people too, is that you can, even if you can't change yours, you can change somebody else's life for sure.
So, why did you decide to come share your story with us today?
So let people know it's okay. I mean, ultimately, no matter what you're going through, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark the space around you is. Just keep pushing. That's the thing, because I live by the quote, and I'm sure a lot of people do. God sends his hardest battles to his toughest warriors, for sure. I've found that whenever you, like we was talking about earlier, the whole car situation, man, you take one step forward, 3 steps back, but if you keep working up, maybe you'll jump 5 steps ahead. You never know, man. I believe in good karma, for sure. But again, I mean, this is especially for my law enforcement people. It's okay. Like, it is. Like, what you experience on the job is the normal civilian don't see. And our normal is far from the average person's normal, you know? So, I mean, like going to overdoses, DOAs, stabbings, shootings, yeah, it raises the blood pressure, but when you see it enough, you just become numb to it, you know, and that's not all right. It's not. It's really not, especially if it's people you know. That's when it gets crazy. But again, man, it's just find your peace, whether it be wife, family, hell, even dogs, animals. Man, I console my dogs every morning. I do. I talk to them because I know they can't talk back, but I feel like they listen. You know what I mean? Always empty the mind before you start again, for sure.